and we are here today with Craig Kuba. Craig is a talent acquisition specialist with Wawa Incorporated, and he's here today to talk to you about using applicant tracking systems and the online application process. How are you doing today, Craig?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Craig, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions for you here for our job seekers and our grads, and I'm going to start just by asking you, why do employers and recruiters actually use applicant tracking systems?
Well, employers use applicant tracking systems because we want to organize and sort through thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of applicants and candidates who apply to our positions every single year. Also, the applicant tracking system allows us to simplify and keep track of where you are in the process and what the results of the interview actually were. So that's extremely important for our company and for a lot of the companies that are out there. So that's the gist of what we would use an employer applicant tracking system for.
Okay, thank you. Now, we've heard a lot of mention of things called keywords, and so job seekers are always talking about make sure, my keywords are on my resume, and they want to use keywords in their cover letter, and so what are keywords, and are they real? Is it a myth? Is it like an urban myth, or are there really keywords, and how do you use them?
Well, you have to remember, Darvin, that your recruiter has maybe 30 seconds to a minute to look at a lot of the applications that are online. So keywords are not a myth. They are definitely words that we're looking for. And keywords are phrases that get our attention. They could be found in your application. They can be found in your resume. An example would be if I'm looking for a fresh food manager for the state of New Jersey, and I see that you were a kitchen manager, or you were just a manager of a food service position in some level, or you were food safety certified. I'll probably stop, take a look at your application, and actually read further into it. So keywords, to me, as well as my colleagues, are definitely not a myth.
Okay, good. So when applicants are filling out an online application, they should definitely throw some keywords in there, right, in relevant places.
Absolutely. I mean, you definitely want them to be in your application. You want them to be in your resume, and you want them to be prominent. You want them to stand out.
So here's a good question. How would myself as an applicant, how would I figure out what the keywords are that you would be looking for?
So, I mean, honestly, Darvin, you want to research the company, and obviously you want to do some research on the positions that we're hiring for. If you go to Google and I'm looking for a food manager, and you Google food managers and actually kind of take the role as the employer for a little bit of time, you'll see that there are a lot of different words and a lot of different positions that are associated with the food manager that you can incorporate into your resume. So it's actually pretty simple to do the research. You just have to Google what you're looking for and find out what buzzwords there are that are associated with that.
That's great. Okay. So my other question is, what's something that would make you reject an applicant, an online applicant, right off the bat?
It sounds ridiculous. But honestly, there are people that just don't fill anything out. They just put their name, their first and last name, their phone number, and their email, and they don't fill out the application. They don't fill out the resume portion. They don't attach their resume. They don't fill out the necessary requirements, and we just can't go any further. That's an automatic decline. We can't go any further with the applicant in the process. A lot of companies have behavioral assessments. When a candidate doesn't pass a behavioral assessment, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to even show up on a resume search that we would have. So most applicant tracking systems are programmed to actually sort out the people who don't have passing scores on behavioral assessments. I guess if you have multiple terminations on your previous experience, that will stand out, and your applicant tracking system will show that you've had multiple terminations. I mean, those are things that will automatically eliminate you from the process, or at least will make me very skeptical to give you a call. If you've job hopped multiple times from roles with 6 months or less experience, that's also a big issue for me, because it's illustrating that you're not a steady employee. So everything varies, but those are some key ones that I personally look at.
All right, Craig, that's some great advice. Um, so the flip side of that, what would make someone stand out for you? What would make them catch your attention and really pique your interest?
Yeah. So some things that make a candidate stand out right away, having a long-term 2+ year window of experience with a recognizable competitor or a company that's something that's close to what we do. So while it's a convenience store, so for example, if somebody worked at 7-Eleven, we're going to take a look at that application. You're going to kind of stand out right away. If we are looking for a general manager and you are a general manager of a prominent company like Walmart, you're going to be standing out almost immediately. So now, obviously, if you're coming right out of college, that's going to be an issue for you to actually have that pertinent experience. But if you have worked with a competitor, those things stand out. And obviously, too, if you had some solid experience during college or after college or whatever, that's good for me.
That's great. Those are some good things to keep in mind. Now, what are some common mistakes you see people make?
Some common errors are really, I think, a really good piece of advice for your students or whoever you'd be giving advice to today would be, create a subheading for your resume for work during college. Work during college is going to be choppy. It's going to look like you're a job hopper because the reality is your main focus is college, right? So if you don't identify that it's only college work or work that you've done during college, it's not going to look well. I think that's kind of an error on your part. You have to make sure that you separate that in your resume and in your application so that the recruiter understands that you're not a job hopper or someone who is going to be quitting their position in 6 months or under 6 months. Spelling and grammar are big ones too. I mean, believe it or not, the most commonly misspelled word on the applicant tracking system databases in the entire country is manager. Manager, you would think, is an easy word to spell, but people zip through the application pretty quickly and they forget how to spell that or they don't double check. So make sure you check your spelling and grammar. Rushing through and not filling out all the information, common errors. It's going to make you look like you don't really care about the job, or maybe you were in a rush about the job, or rush applying for the job, I should say. And attaching your resume and thinking that you don't have to fill out the application. There's different words for it, but we call that in the industry kind of apply and pray. You just submit the application, but you don't really do the rest of the application. Don't do the legwork that goes into it.
Sure. Okay, that's great. And my last question for you is, what's something you want every applicant to know and understand about recruiters that use applicant tracking systems? Something that can make your job a lot easier and make their job easier, getting a job.
Sure. So, well, I mean, I guess you have to have the right mentality as somebody who's looking for work. And I'll get to what you said in a second, but having the right mentality is extremely important. So if you understand the ATS process, you have to understand that it's really not you, it's me, the recruiter. It's my selection, it's my company, it's the restrictions that I have for my jobs that I'm supposed to hire for. And sometimes a candidate just not going to fit that bill. And it's not your fault. It has nothing to do with your intelligence or your education. Most of the time we're looking for some sort of experience that's comparable to what we would want in that type of a role. There are a lot of key factors that make what I'm saying, I guess, important. I mean, honestly, you're 1 in a million applicants. You're 1 in 100,000 applicants. So it's important that you follow up with the ATS process on LinkedIn, and we'll get to that in a second. But obviously, following up with the process is extremely important. It's almost as important to applying. There's a lot of competition out there. That's something I want everyone to understand. Employers, myself, I would love to hire every single person that comes across my computer screen. I really would. But there's just too many people to hire. So just keeping that in mind is important. Again, we're looking for very specific candidates. I have restrictions. We have restrictions. And many times the requirements for the position are very basic, and the reality is that they are more complex. Well, they seem very basic, but they're more complex to someone who's applying. So, you know, I lost it there, Darwin.
Oh no, I was just saying, what's something you would want them to, yeah, like a final, just some points or whatever, just to,
Was that good?
yeah, that was perfect.
I mean, it's not about. I mean, I want everyone to understand that it's not about them.
Right.
They do everything that's necessary, and they follow up on LinkedIn, and they're creating a network. It's really that's all you can do, and you have to have the right experience, or else you're not going to get the job. Or you're not even going to get it. You're not going to get the interview.
Right. Right.
So that's important for everyone to understand that it's really a lot of it is out of their hands, and although we would love to hire every single person, we just can't do it. And it just when you're applying, you think you're one of maybe 100, but you're probably one of out of 100,000.
Right.
There's a big difference between what the perception is on the candidate side, as opposed to what it is on our side. So.
Right. All right. Well, Craig, I appreciate your time and all your advice and information. And once again, we've been here talking to Craig Kuba. He's a talent acquisition specialist with Wawa Incorporated. And he's been talking to us today about the online application process and those tricky applicant tracking systems that we're also familiar with. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Darwin.
All right.